everyone. Thanks for joining us today. This is day 3, I think, of this edition of the CTM discourse program. My name is Ali Zhang. I am one of the discourse curators at CTM. Today we're going to be thinking about music as a means of reorganizing sociality. So we'll be thinking through questions like, how might music and sonic cultures shape us? How can they be more active agents when it comes to sculpting both our subjectivities and our social lives? To kick off the day, I'm really pleased to introduce a panel featuring members of the Alkisah Network. So I'm sure some of you might already know, but in 2021, Senyawa issued an open call inviting independent music labels all over the world to co-release their album Al-Kisak by creating different versions of the work for different national markets. Senyawa encouraged variations on physical formats and production and distribution strategies and even reinterpretations of the songs, which was a political statement promoting decentralization. So we're lucky to have a few network participants joining us today. We've got members of Soy Division, LKV, Chaos Non-Musica, and WV Sorcerer Productions. I'm just going to quickly introduce our 2 IRL participants before letting them introduce our 2 online participants and the panel as well. So on my right is independent scholar, writer, and researcher Marianna Lis. She's done a lot of work on the political potentials of traditional art forms and is the author of the 2019 book Wayang, Javanese Shadow Puppet Theater. And on my left is Sully of Soy Division. He is a sound artist, musician, and DJ. He performs under the name Meme Shift. He researches hybridity, class, race, and code switching, among other themes, and his work seeks to harmonize resonances across these differences. So yeah, I'll hand over to these 2 to kick us off. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, Oli, for the introduction, and thank you, CTM Festival, for having us here today. I would like to start with a very short introduction of Alkisah, of the idea behind the Alkisah project, Alkisah Network, and a few labels that participated in this project. Can we switch to the presentation? Okay. Al-Kisak, as Oli already said, is a project started by Senyawa, and you probably all know this group, but just in case you don't, Senyawa is an Indonesian group that started working together in 2010, and they are known for their musical explorations, very unusual vocal techniques by Roli Shabara, and musical instruments built by Wukir Suryadi. And the first 10 years of the work were primarily an exploration of themselves, of their musical abilities. And in 2020, when they started their second decade of their artistic work, they decided to expand their explorations and try to transfer what they learned about themselves into other areas of not only musical but also organizing, how to organize things, how to release album, for example. So in 2020 they released an open call inviting labels from all over the world to take part in Al-Kisak project. And the Al-Kisak, the title, can be translated as Once Upon a Time. So their new album was kind of a story that was created by them and then transferred into some other context. They invited labels to give the local context to the Al-Kisak release, and then the story was retold again by other labels participating in this release. And what's the most important thing was the decentralization process. The guiding principle was that only the locals know what's best for them. So Senyawa encouraged labels to design their own versions of Al-Kisak. By design, I mean design covers, for example, but also to make their own audio mastering if they wanted, also to prepare their own version of remix or reinterpretations, decide on the distribution model and production model, writing their own press release or a narrative around their own release of Al-Kisak, think about the promotion strategies, merchandise, for example, and format and number of copies. So the freedom was really like big. And more than 40 labels participated in this open call. And as you can see on the map, they were from all over the world, although there are two parts of the world that were like mostly represented, Europe and Indonesia. And at the beginning, Senyawa encouraged labels from the same country, if they answer the open call, to work together to release one version of the Al-Kisak together, as for example happened in Italy. There two labels, Italian labels, worked together, and they released Al-Kisak as a collaboration. But in Indonesia, the situation was different. They encouraged labels from each major island to join the call to decentralize music scene within Indonesia. So it's not only Java, as it usually is, as Java is like this center of power in Indonesia. They invited labels also from smaller islands or not that well represented islands to show that the experimental and underground music scene in Indonesia is also diverse and is existing. So there are releases in Indonesia from major islands like Sumatra, Kalimantan, Sulawesi, but also Bali, and we will hear more about Balinese release in a moment. And as you can see, the releases are very different from each other. The labels were also able to design their own merchandise and most importantly, remixes. So I think these numbers are not updated, although I updated it yesterday, but just today I said so that there is another release from the Italian version. So new remixes came out just today. So the project is still going. It's more than 1 year after the release, but there are still new remixes coming and new artists that are involved in Al-Kisak are appearing almost every day. And to summarize this very brief introduction, I want to show you a short trailer of a documentary movie which is made by Reza Darwin, showing few thoughts about Al-Kisak release from international and Indonesian journalists and music critics.
Quiet.
Since the Napster, since the rise of the internet, there's been a natural sort of decentralization, and the industry's tried to catch up in so many ways, tried to make a new model for how things have been, and they've failed in producing this until relatively recently, you have one model, which is kind of a monolithic model. That's Spotify, that's come along, and the streaming model has come to sort of replace a lot of the values and aesthetics that were there.
Kayak kawan-kawan di ranah underground sebenarnya udah paham ya, kayak ada konsep copyleft gitu, di mana sebuah karya bisa didistribusikan, dinikmati, dimaknai secara bebas, asal tidak menyentuh koridor bisnis ataupun komersil gitu.
Ada some distortion too.
Seperti yang dilakukan Alkisah misalnya, itu kondisi ideal karena ini satu hal yang baru, ya kan? Hal-hal baru itu akan bermunculan, itu yang harus terus kita diskusikan.
And I think we're all like more aware of each other now, right? So it really did work that people are following each other and following each other's labels, and it was huge. I mean, we just have to all go do more things like that. I think there's nothing to deconstruct about this project. This was so great. We just have to go do more.
Penting emang pakai distributor besar. Apakah kita sekedar buat teman-teman aja gitu? Karena kan batasan juga udah baur gitu.
Bagaimana ini bisa terus berjejaring, bisa terus saling bernegosiasi antar klaster-klaster ini. Gitu. Jaringannya itu penting, karena tanpa jaringan itu ya akan terpecah-pecah.
You can't win the game against Facebook or Spotify. Not that there's a game to be won, but you put the music out and into a world that's already got this overflow of sounds. So how do you create a culture within that?
Kita akan musnah, tak berdaya.
Okay. Up to this point, everything was going online, but then during the release period, things change a little bit, and I would like to give voice to Morgan to talk a little bit about how the network actually start working together and get to know each other.
Great. Hi, how's everyone doing? All right. Woo! What up? Hey, can we say hi to the folks, Ruatan and Sandri? Hi. I think the camera is there, no?
Yeah.
Hey!
Hi.
Hi.
Halo Morgan.
Hi guys. Hi Marianna. Hi Morgan.
Hello.
So I'll talk a little bit about kind of what happened after everyone started kind of participating and creating all of these albums and remixes and versions. I think it was, I had been speaking a bit with Ruli and Ukir, and I think we'd had this like weird idea, like, so how are people going to find each other, and how will we know, and how will the other artists and labels know of each other, and how will we release this? I mean, it's kind of weird to think about how you release, or how you would work with a group of people to release 40 plus albums at the same time on the same day, which is totally bonkers. So I think we decided to kind of look at setting up a couple different things, a couple different ways that the different labels and artists could kind of network and talk and communicate with each other, because it was all happening in this decentralized way. So strangely, there had to be a tiny bit of centralization for the communication to happen between all of the participants in the project. So we really quickly set up.
Can we go back to the presentation? Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. Cheers. See you in a bit.
Okay, thanks.
So, yeah, so really quickly we use these like really awful and interesting platforms.
Centralized.
Centralized platforms. to kind of bring together some of this communication and sharing, and decided and kind of discussed and really quickly thought about doing a festival to release everything at the same time. And so we had like a mailing list that Ruli and Wukir had kind of collected from all of the different labels that have participated. And so just sent out an email, hey, who wants to do an online festival? And so like in like 3 days, we figured out, okay, we'll do it, and this will be the day that we do it. And over the next week, everyone started submitting things to for this online festival. So we ended up getting a whole bunch of different participants from the network. That we had like a big open Google Doc that everyone submitted links to all of their work and all of their remix links, all the contact information for all of them, so that everyone could kind of connect with each other. And then started also figuring out the time slots of when to display everything, because the festival would be running remotely. Yeah, I think for about 8 hours, we ran an 8-hour festival online in Indonesian time, and then we ran it a second time the next day here in European time. We had, I think over like 100 submissions that we had to really quickly like, okay, schedule, because people were submitting stuff in like video format. Some people had already produced video. Some people just had audio. Reza was amazing and created a bunch of like just slides that would kind of almost like a slideshow so people could hear their music. But I think over the festival, we had maybe about 600-700 participants online that just tuned in throughout. Listening to each other's work. Different labels from all over the world were tuning in at the same time and being online at the same time. We ran everything in Twitch, but then we also had this like totally bonkers Discord to kind of run everything. And if you look here, you can see a few like channels. We had like a general introductions. This is a label introductions channel, so a lot of people could kind of talk about their work, introduce it. And the idea with Pasar Alkisah is Pasar is like a marketplace. And so the idea is that all of the labels would be able to sell their work to each other and bring all of their fans to see the artwork, music, and releases of all the other labels. So we had like a labels channel for all the labels to meet each other and chat. We had an artist channel. There's some other ones in here. This one's kind of cool. This is from Senyawa Mandiri. This is like I think it's like a metal print here. That one's PTK distribution from Pontianak. That has, I think, Yadi from Balantuman is there. So yeah, so we had this festival online that we ran and kind of decided to do and launched in like a week, and got a lot of people participating in it very, very quickly. So that was the online festival. But then after that, things started to progress a lot more. And I only speak from being here in Europe and seeing what was happening here. But shortly thereafter, during this, oh yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out for Latter Smil, Palu. They're like my favorite version. They did this really sweet, like choral version of some Senyawa music, which is, if you know Senyawa, is like kind of a little funny because like it's so beautiful and melodic and sweet and harmonic. Sorry, shout out to them. Yeah, so afterwards, one of the other labels reached out to us in X and Chemnitz and said, hey, anyone in Europe want to come and participate? I have an Alkisah panel that I'm going to have at this festival. If anyone reach out to us. And so I think myself and Pedro Oliveira and Max Kupi from here, they're also in LKW. Yeah, reached out, said, yeah, we'll go. And then Marianna also went. Then also Luigi and Paulina went there. That's where we met. And yeah, we had like a panel discussion and performance there, and got to meet a lot of the other musicians. Arte Tetra and Communion were there also. A couple members from INX, which were some of the other participants in the project, were there. So it was kind of our first like meetup. So we also sent a lot of selfies. This one is Helmi. Helmi was in Chemnitz with us, but then he went back to Indonesia and met up with Ruli, and we had lots of selfies that we were sending back and forth in our Telegram channel, basically. Yeah, so shortly thereafter, Soy Division and LKW reached out to Rabia Biani here, who also helped us with the record pressing and kind of really coached us and mentored us. Because like record label, right? It's like there's like these big phantom limbs, like huge and big distribution, and then there's like me, which is like Bandcamp account. Yeah. So it's nice to have some people that have been involved in distribution and running music labels be able to talk and chat with us a little bit. So Rabia, reached out, or we reached out to him and also did an interpretation of some of the tracks from Alkisah. Kiamat was one of the performances that we did. And it's really great. We got to perform Kiamat on Easter Sunday in like the Indonesian Cultural House, which I thought was really great. Kiamat, sudah dekat. Doomsday has arrived on Easter. So here's some shots from it. This is Ariel playing. We had a really amazing visual artist with us, Thais, who worked a lot with like kind of analog to rework some images that another one of our friends had designed. Band photo, obligatory band photo. Cute one in the middle is Azari. And then this is the current state, at least in my living room at the moment. This is record label behind the scenes, but basically it's a lot of glue and paper and some records that I'm gluing and actually have available in this lovely COVID Expo bag. So please come talk to me afterwards. And currently, I think there's a documentary in the works, a couple academic papers. There's also been some other panels and talks in different universities over the past year about the project. I think there's like a group in Barcelona that also is like submitting Alkisah Network as like their master's program or their master's like thesis like work, which I'm like, whoa. Yeah, and also some radio. So a lot of things happening all at the same time, multiple places over the past year. Not all of it is visible, I would say, but a lot of it that I see is also really interesting, which I think indicates that there's probably some other stuff that we're only scratching the surface of. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Morgan, for your presentation. And I think we will go back to this topic of how this online decentralized network became an offline network, that we are now working with each other, following each other. There are some new collaboration within the network. But before we go there, I would like to introduce Ruotan. Ruotan, born in Nanjing, China, and now based in France, performs within different music genres such as noise, ambient, drone, black metal, field recording, tribal, ritual, etc. He runs the label WV Sorcerer, a Sino-French label focusing on various avant-garde, experimental, esoteric music from Asia and beyond. And I would like to ask you a little bit about the Chinese version of Alkisah, because this version was also very interesting. It was a collaboration between three different labels. So you create a small network within the network. And I would like to ask you about how did you build this local Chinese network, how it works, how you choose the artists that were participating in your release. Can you tell us a little bit about your version of Alkisah?
Sure. Hello, everyone. This is Rotan from WV Sorcerer Productions. To reply your questions, actually, it's not really me who did this network. I have been a big fan of Senyawa for many years, and It's the two labels in Guangzhou and Hong Kong. They introduced me to this project at maybe the very last moment of the Alkisah project, just before the deadline, because I didn't know this project going on. But when I saw it, I just say to myself, I need to be a part of this. And it's quite easy to, not saying easy, it's not that difficult for me and Mu Hai from Hong Kong and the Cheese Snack Records from Guangzhou. We with all three labels, we started to find the remix artists for the Alkisah project. And some artists, they know Senyawa for a long time. Some of them, they don't know. But when they discover the music, they really love it. So it's not very... I didn't say much things to the artist. I leave them the freedom to create what they want. And because the three labels, we are not really in the same music style, and I just we were looking for different musicians, really different. As you can see in this remix album, we have musicians from harsh noise to electronic, and maybe free improvisation, some dark pop, and it's really different. It's interesting for me with this Alkisah project, as it's decentralized, but you need to when you do the remix, you also need to deconstruct yourself, your previous work to get into the world of Alkisah. Yeah, that's basically how I participate in this project. And as Morgan said, the Parsa Alkisah Festival was really nice, and the musicians from all over the world, the labels, we participate in 2 days and send different video and audios. It's really a festival of. I met a lot of people in the festival. Some people I didn't know, really don't know anything before. So there's one thing about the Alkisah project is that you can always discover something you don't know. Maybe you already know the country, you know the region, you know a little bit the culture, but behind all those things you already know, there's always a lot of more to discover. So as I'm all of three labels, we are from China and from China mainland and Hong Kong. So maybe I can give a little bit introduction to the audience for the Chinese underground scene, Marianna, or do you have other questions?
No, please go ahead.
Okay. You can put the slides on.
Yeah, can we have Ruatan's presentation? Yeah.
Whoa, cool.
Yeah, okay, great. I just I will not introduce you every musician in the Chinese version of the remix album. I just a small introduction what's going on right now. Actually, my label is called WV Sorcerer Productions, and I started in 2010 as a distribution of music from Asia, and later it evolved to the current label in 2015. The label focused mainly on the underground scene of Asia, but not only in Asia. And since then, I've released more than 60 albums from many countries. Mostly there are some avant-garde and left field music, harsh noise, drone, psychedelic, etc. But I don't really have a music genre limit. It's really various, but I think there is something in common there. And maybe many of you are interested, are curious about the Chinese underground scene. It's a huge topic. I don't want to take many time here to introduce the full thing, but I'll give you three examples of what's going on in the recent year in China. This is also a picture of the label. As you already know, many the people in China, they don't have access to many websites we use every day, like YouTube, Google, Bandcamp. But so with this label, I'm trying to make a bridge between China and abroad. That's also the objective I created this label. So these three examples, maybe it's in three cities. In three cities, you already know, I think. The first one is Beijing. It's the political capital of China. And the picture you are seeing now is a festival my friends were organizing in the near Beijing, and it's in the abandoned Great Wall. So it's not the Great Wall you see every day, like in the tourist pictures. It's really in the wilderness. So the festival is called Nowhere Festival, and the Chinese name, it literally means wild sound or wild music. So people are doing this really, you can see here in the middle, that's the place of the stage. It's in the mountains, but near Beijing. And this is, you can see it's a really DIY stage. And on the left side, it's artist who did the calligraphy with his hair. His name is Chen Gen. He performed in Germany last year. Not last year, maybe before last year. Anyway, you can see it's a really DIY community, and it's the festival they are doing. Some more pictures about the calligraphist, the DIY scene. Most of them are experimental music, noise, and free improvisation. Maybe we can just play the video, a short video for 2 minutes. Thank you very much. As you can see in the in the trailer of the documentary of this festival, there are all these artists playing, and some of the artists were also in the Alkisah remix. That's the one reason I want to show you this video. And the organizer, they also play the English festival. It's Wang Zehen and Da Fu. I hope they will organize another one in the future. And back to the three cities I was talking earlier. The second one is called Yiwu. I show you this picture. In this picture, maybe someone you already know, but maybe you don't. But Yiwu is the largest wholesale market in the world. It's a city like 3 hours driving from Shanghai in the middle of China. You can see in the pictures the toys, some kitchen stuff, and all these small commodities you can imagine, all made in China. Yiwu is famous for this market, so it's the name for the people, for most of the people. But in this, just near this city, not very far from the city in the mountains, there is also a place like that in the mountains. It's a abandoned Taoist temple, and there are some people who transferred this place to a lighthouse. You can see now it's a painting on the wall, and all this a resting place and the stage. So it's a really big contrast from that international largest wholesale market. Even me, because I live in France for many years, I know EU as a market, but not like as this one. So also as the Nowhere Festival near Beijing, we always can find this contrast between the image in our head and what's going on really underground. This is the second example. You can see the one picture of the live concert. The band is Dofi Kick Bebop. And the third city I want to mention is Shenzhen. Shenzhen is a very big city near Hong Kong. Some people call it Chinese Silicon Valley. Many big enterprise are based there, and it's really modern city. So in this city, we have another form of the Chinese music activities going on. It's called Tomorrow Festival. It's a really well-organized professional festival. Every year, they invited the musician like Merzbow, Faust, Guru, KG Hano, and also many traditional musicians from all over the world. For me, it's the best music festival in China, and they focalize into the experimental music and traditional music, also electronic music. Also, they invited many traditional Chinese musicians to play in the festival. It's really have a various music style in the same festival. It's just some photos. Now you can see Merzbow on the left side, and on the right side, it's a traditional musician from Georgia, but it's from the region of Azerbaijan. So I just to show you how this music festival will hold. I think all these three cities I mentioned they are really different, and the scene is really different, but it just give you a first impression of what's going on in China. And for the Alkisah remixes with all the city I mentioned, with all this background, it's not that hard. We find our friends to do the remix, and you can see it's finally it's the musician on the Chinese version of Alkisah album, from free improvisation, harsh noise, electronic, from Hong Kong and the mainland. So it's a really interesting project and a big honor to participate in Alkisah project. What I just mentioned, maybe it's just a start point to let you discover more about the Chinese scene. Yeah, you can always imagine something deeper. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation, Ruotan. And I would also like to invite Sandria. Sandria is a part of Chaos Non Musica, a Bali-based collective which started by organizing DIY noise experimental music gigs intended as safer spaces for equal conversations. The collective emphasizes the significance of platforms of like-minded artists and organizers, as well as a cross-genre networking. Chaos Non Musica also runs an annual noise experimental festival and record label under the same name. And welcome, Sandria. I remember that when we were talking for the first time about a year ago, before releasing Al-Kisak, you told me that the activity of your collective, which you are part of, is based on network and collective-based alternative economy. So basically the same principles as Al-Kisak, and that this is why Al-Kisak was especially interesting for you. But as one of a few, you decided to step forward and extend this concept of decentralization further by inviting other labels from Bali. And this way you expand the Alkisah network by incorporating some smaller local networks. And your activity has remained in line with your previous activity based on local micro networks, cooperation, and solidarity. So I would like to ask you to share with us a little bit about the way in which you work as a collective, and also how your work as a collective change, or maybe not, after participating in Al-Kisak. Was your network or your way of building network or supporting your network any different now as it was before? So can you share a little bit about the music scene in Bali, about your collective, and about your cooperation with Senyawa after the release of Al-Kisak? We cannot hear Sandria.
Volume.
Wait, Sandria. Oh no. Yeah.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah. Now everything is fine.
Is it okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. So yeah, Chaos Non Musica is basically a very small collective. We just organized small DIY gigs, focus on noise experimental music. But yeah, in most of our works, because we realized totally we're just a small collective. Most of the time, we always invite others and other collective to do something together with us. So when Senyawa made this open call, in the beginning we don't think we didn't think that we're qualified of it. So we never really thought about it. I mean, we support it, but Chaos Non Musica is not qualified enough to do that. But anyway, some friends encourage us, including Senyawa itself, for us to send the proposal. And yeah, that's how in the end we become part of this huge, you can say that it's a huge project that involve a lot of friends, a lot of collective globally. And how we just, how to say it, just come clear, we just a small collective. We want to make it something in line with what Senyawa want to do. And decentralization is basically what we did most of the time, because we like co-release, we made a lot of projects together with other collectives. So we thought, why not we share it with, why don't we do this together with our other friends, other label in Bali, independent label, who has like, you know, the same spirit and the same mindset like us. So yeah, we try to make it into practice to like smaller scale in Bali. That's why we invite other records, our friends record, active records label in Bali to be part of it, because we won't make it if it's just girls non-musical. We don't have that much money anyway. So by do this together, sharing uh, the resources, the knowledge, the idea together, why not? We can do it together. It's what decentralization are for, right? We share. That's just basically what we did in Chaos Non Musica.
Okay,
Yeah.
and
I mean, in
yeah.
the term of Alkisah.
Yeah, and I know that you already worked with Senyawa before, but also you worked after the release of Al-Kisak, because this release was also like one of the ways for Senyawa to connect to some smaller networks within Indonesia to get to know people and work together. So can you tell us a little bit about how you work together after the release of Al-Kisak with Senyawa and maybe with other artists that were involved? Is your like network expanded because of Al-Kisak, or something changed?
Mm. Mm, uh, Being part of this project, it yeah, we learn a lot of things, of course, because we never really, I mean, in general, never this huge while we do it, while we did it before, but it's not like in a bigger scale. What we're doing with Senyawa teach us, of course, about how to connect with more people, uh, work together with different mindset, different kind of thinking, different how they think they should release their records or whatever. So yeah, we learn a lot about it. But if you guys ask, is there any? We're not sure if there's that. I'm not sure. I mean, we're not sure. Of course, we learn a lot of things, but this system is actually not really new for us. We did it. It's just like a bigger scale, and the chance to met a lot of friends, a lot of network with different background. So that's enough, of course. And we're part of this discussion too, something that maybe we never imagined before. But that's really different. But if if it's changed something in how chaos and musica works, basically, yeah,
Okay.
it's just like that.
Okay, thank you, Sandria. And now I think I have a
I hope you get what I mean.
question. I have a question to all of you, actually, because you were all stressing how important it was to build a community, and how the process of knowing each other and following each other's works was like the most important part of this project. But I would like to step back for a while, because Alkisah was also a kind of experiment in distribution of power and knowledge. And I would like to ask you a little bit about this part. Can we focus for a moment on how you see this experiment? Like, for me personally, I wouldn't judge it like as a success or failure, because I don't think that that was a point. But how you see this experiment in the distribution of power and knowledge, how it goes for you? Maybe Morgan, you can share your thoughts about this.
I think in the project, like, yeah, I have some disclosure. So like, the first time I met one of the band members, They're like behind a laptop with like Apple Finder, like playing some MP3s in this like club here, and I didn't know who the person was, and I'm like, hey, what's up? Oh, those are sick. Yo, I got some stuff too, and we started chatting. What's your name? Morgan. Oh, what's yours? Ruli. Oh, hey, what's up? So just really casual. I'm like, oh, he's a cool guy, just playing some MP3s, cool. And meanwhile, there's like a lot of people around the world that are like, whoa, he's getting written up. And so I was also very new to Senyawa. But after being involved in the release, because I just saw it as like, wow, this would be really kind of, what a weird and interesting idea. This is great. Wow. Yeah, I'm really mad that music is, a lot of music tends, that I have listened to previously tends to be, I have no connection with the musician. I go on like YouTube or iTunes. But I think because of this, I'm also knowing the musicians like a bit more, like personally. And also because of this project, I think like I'll go around and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like releasing, I have like this record, and yeah, we released Senyawa. They're like, oh gosh, wow, yeah, I love it. And then it like opens up this conversation. And so Senyawa in some ways has been a key to a lot of different kinds of relationships all over the world. I was in, we had got invited to go and do, Soy Division got invited to go do participate in this festival in Italy, in Milan, and I was staying with one of the people, this guy Matteo, and I'm like, hey, what's up? Yeah, you can stay with us. So I went and stayed, and he's just a friendly guy, and I'm like talking with him, and I'm looking through like his cassette tapes, and there's like Alkisah. Then I'm like, whoa, hey, how did you get this? He's like, oh yeah, that's my release. I'm like, oh wait, whoa, wow. And then suddenly there was like this other connection that was there. So I think maybe this is a little bit like, I don't know if it's necessarily power. Maybe there's like a kind of an exchange story, like a gateway to, oh, and then we can start talking about like food or Indonesia or music or experimental music or Senyawa, for example. But yeah, I think that maybe that gets a little bit at this question. But yeah, certainly the conversations then, kind of weave together people in a community. You have stories that communities share, and people are able to talk with each other and just converse. So at the very least, and it's funny because Alkisah is like story, so we're like sharing this story.
I think this is what story is about. Like it has to be retold or reinterpreted or like recall, and every time it's changing a little bit. So everyone is adding something new to the story, some new layers, and then like the story doesn't have any author, like everyone is actually an author. So
everyone's like in the story.
Yeah, so you are just retelling story, and the story belongs to the one that is retelling it at that moment. But this is also like the process that sometimes you are skipping some parts. So you have the power to skip some things and to maybe add some things, change this story. So, everyone that is telling the story has also the power and is holding power at that moment. So I think this is also like a very important thing to look about, like where this story originated and how it's transforming, how it's evolving through the space and time, because it's already 1 year, more than a year, and it's being retold all over the world. So there are actually many stories now, and everyone is adding something to it. And this is also like the way how you can look at Alkisah as some kind of, this redistribution of power and knowledge, because the story is also the knowledge, right? So it originated in a place like in Indonesia, a place which is usually not seen as a place of the this powerful center of the power of and knowledge, because it's not a Europe or it's not a Western world. So this is, I think, also very important shift, that the story originated in a place which is not connected to these power centers. And I think this is also something that we could look at. But yeah, Ruatan and Sandria, what are your thoughts about this distribution of power and knowledge connected to Alkisah?
I mean, the distribution of power and the knowledge. About the power, I'm not really sure how, I don't know. But about the knowledge, I think just maybe it's not to answer your question directly, but about the knowledge, I think for this decentralized project, it's a decentralization, but first you have to have a center to decentralized. I'm not saying it's a paradox, but Senyawa is, at the first place, it's the center. It's not like every band can call a project like this and the people will participate. They have many people all over the world who likes the Senyawa's music, so they join the project. But there is some, I don't like the word standard, but it's some basic requirement of the understanding of Senyawa's music, so you can participate to make your own remix, make your own version. I think this decentralization is there are two levels or two sides. One is in the music industry, how we do the release, how we distribute, how we meet people. The independent labels are not the same from the mainstream labels, and now we have this decentralized way, what we will do from this starting point. And another is about the music itself. I think it's the decentralization of a music project is really interesting, but also it's my personal opinion. I don't think all the music can do this. For example, it's because Senyawa's music, we can see the post-industrial part, okay, we can see the traditional part, and we cannot define it with an exact style. And it's also an important factor in this decentralization project, because the music of Senyawa, it's open. It's from traditional music. Also, it's the music for nowadays. They use the custom instrument. It's from Indonesia, but not only for Indonesia. It's an open-minded and it's an open music technically, or music when how they create the music, it's open. So for this kind of project, we can continue to the process of the decentralization, because like many artists did the remixes version. Actually, remix is this kind of collaboration is from the electronic music scene. People deconstruct their works and collaborate with the musician. So in Senyawa's case, it's also, you can see all those remix from different labels. There are really quite different musicians. There are electronic musicians, experimental musicians, traditional musicians with acoustic instrument. It's really a free, everyone has its unique way to collaborate, but they also need to, like I said before, deconstruct their own music to adapt or to fusion with Senyawa's music. And that's, I don't know, maybe if we can imagine a classical musician or a traditional rock and roll band, can they do a decentralization project like this? When they send the collaboration requests to others, how we reply? I mean, technically, how we make a new music from this kind of music. So I think this is an interesting topic as the decentralization. It means each part of the project are equal, but sometimes you need to find some I don't know how to explain in English, but just this individuality or another collectivity. It exists both at the same time. You need to find a balance between them. That's what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting how to navigate those two things, like how to collaborate, how to work in a network, like in an artistic network. And I think we can go back to it in a moment, but maybe Sandria, maybe you have something to add about the power and knowledge. Again, we cannot hear you. Wait a second.
Oh.
Wait a second, we cannot hear you. You have to unmute yourself. Sorry.
Actually, I already did. How about now?
Yeah, now it's fine.
How about now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Maybe I want to flashback a little bit on how about the Alkisah, Senyawa Alkisah project itself. I mean, a part that we invite other indie small label from our network of friends, active label in Bali, to join this decentralization project. The way we choose the artists for the remix, it's also we choose to ask friends from different genre, different collective, not just from Chaos Non Musica. A lot of people ask when we release the remix, a lot of people, hey, why not A, B, C? You know, the project that they know that's Chaos Non Musica project, you know, because yeah, apart from organizing gigs, we also have these friends who has all of us has a project, yeah, music project. But we choose not to do that. Only one person from Chaos Non Musica part of the remix, because you know we already released it. Why it's us again? We want to ask other artists. We want to broaden our perspective, different genre, to be part of the remix. So we have more collective, more friends, more conversation to be part of this decentralization project. I think it's quite important. I mean, yeah, for at the time, we thought it's just a normal thing, but after we release it, a lot of people ask, why you guys invite this musician? Why not just Chaos Non Musica artists to be part of the remix? But in our mind, that's important because that's how it works. That's how it works for us. We broaden our perspective, we broaden our network, and make it, you know, equal for everyone. Yeah, Senyawa perhaps choose us to release Alkisah for Bali, but it's not just not just Chaos Non Musica. It's supposed to be for all of us, you know. That's what I try to explain. That's and we were like hoping that if you ask about the knowledge, well, we're not that great anyway, but hopefully this decentralization idea, more and more people understand what it is about decentralization itself. But also, why it's important, because we don't want to be another centralization. While it's decentralization, in the end of the day, if it's just Chaos Non Musica, or if it's just Soy Division, for example, or WV, for example, we don't want to be another central. It's decentralization anyway. We don't want, I think this is what we should think for the future, that while in the beginning it sounds ideal, but it can be backwards for the idea that Senyawa try to spread, you know. That, yeah, I think I just want to add that.
Okay, thank you, Sandra. Now I would like to go back to Ruatan's thought about how to navigate the musical side, artistic side of this project, and how to think about network like Al-Kisak in this artistic terms. So maybe, again, I can start with you, Morgan. How you navigate those things in your release? How you thought about what are your thoughts about Al-Kisak in this artistic terms, and also how do you see this network can develop? What's the future of that artistic, those kinds of artistic networks?
I know it's been really great to hear how other people are working or collectivizing or sharing. And I would like that, you know, and this is my own opinion, but I would like that it would kind of continue. And it already kind of is, like in a lot of like uneven or interesting ways all over the world. Yeah, and like for continuation, there's already like a lot of stuff that's like happening. I mean, it's nice. There's a lot of people like here in European context. Like it's been nice to be able to go to different cities and meet other people that are here that are involved in the project that we didn't know about. It's nice to imagine like other kinds of tours. And Alkisah, in a way, just feels almost like kind of a starting point more than, yeah. Yeah, maybe, I think that's, I don't know if I have much more as far as like future or, you know, if it's me to say, oh, the future of, but it's happening, yeah, I mean, the Alkisah is like everywhere. You know, and there's, like you were saying earlier, you know, there are these kind of stories that are, some parts get omitted, some parts get added in, it gets remixed, it gets chopped up and recontextualized in different contexts. There's so much digital exchange also. I think that was like also kind of an important thing to think about as the information and as the music was like pushed out through the internet. For the project, there were definitely some uneven balances there. I mean, so I mean, as the project grows or as it expands, there'll certainly be those things to contend with. But I also really think it was great the fact that, yeah, there were just so many people involved, and also seeing all the releases was like really amazing. It blew my mind. Like all of the stuff that like came out. I think Chaos Non Musica, I think, was the origami perfume? Was that one of the releases?
Yeah.
It was like the fold out and perfume.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I couldn't smell it. I wish I could smell from here, but.
Terima kasih. Terima
It was
kasih,
so dope.
Morgan.
Yeah, and I saw the like fold out that you sent. I'm like, oh, what? And then like the Doomsday doll. I mean, this is so great to see. You know, yes, Alkisah, yes, Senyawa, but also seeing all of the other work that was created. And seeing more of that, I think, would be great. I mean, I felt really fortunate here. We could do a theater piece. Yeah, so more mutations, I think. More mutations, I think, is good for the diversity of an ecosystem to be able to maintain its resiliency.
it's so funny that no matter how hard I try to ask you about something different in the community, we are going over and over back to the community and to people that were involved in Al-Kisak. But I think this is like what's all about people and all those connections and new connections that appeared in this network. So yeah, Ruatan and Sandria, I would also like to ask you about the potentialities of those kinds of networks, how they can, I don't know, how they can develop, what are the futures of this kind of networks. I don't know who wants to start.
You first.
Yeah.
Rutan, you first. You always know how to start. You always know how to start.
Yeah. I can start. The question is the future of the potentiality of the Alkisah, right?
Yeah. Or networks similar to Al-Kisak.
Networks. Okay. I think the it started last year, and it's still going on. That's why I can talk here right now. It's because of Alkisah Network. I think because for the independent labels, we do concert release, trades. We always do that, but with the project like Alkisah, we do it much more. We can discover more, and all the things going on. We have a lot of information. The information is really important for nowadays, and I discovered many great labels and musicians. Even it's something I should like if I know it, but even in this world of social media, if there's no Alkisah project, I will not discover the labels. And also, I think Alkisah, the project that Julie and Uki, they have this question of Alkisah is the starting point. It's not really an answer to the project. It's not the answer. It's the starting point. So the Alkisah itself, all the music and how it can compare to the current music industry. It's also an experiment. So for now, I think Alkisah, the decentralization, at the end, we don't need any leader in the project. But for now, we have Senyawa, who let us connect with each other, discover more interesting things. And also, it's based on our mutual understanding and trust. It can be a network for the music release. It also can be something else, more than music, I think, for the future. So Alkisah is the experimental. We let this experiment going on, and we'll see how far and in which level it will go. For now, I think maybe other project like similar to Alkisah were developed too. And just back to the first question of the power, I'm just thinking now, as the Marianna just asked, for now I don't think Indonesia is or the similar country is something we don't pay much attention to, because I'm not talking about the society, the music, because the music, I think personally, I don't see many like Eurocentries in the current scene. People are always very happy to discover more things and more the other culture from another part of the world, and it's just the the term word music. I don't really like this word. I hate this word. It's like we've discovered the music from the other part of the world, and all those music we call it world music. It's we can find another name, traditional music or folk music, and maybe it's a little bit off the topic you asked me. It's just for me. It's for now.
Yeah, I think all those labels are always very problematic, and I don't want to put any labels on this project or on Senyawa. It's more like a notion that, is all this, for example, centers of distribution are usually focused on the Western part of the world.
Yeah.
So this was also like the way of showing that are some other possibilities how to distribute power, how to distribute music, so you don't have to follow all those patterns which are there, which are usually promoting those that are already having power and that they are already visible and they are already in the center. So I think that that my thought was connected to this. And yeah, Sandria, do you want to add something about the future of such networks or possibilities for such networks? Because you work as a decentralized collective for already so many years, so maybe you have something to add also from your experience.
Oh.
Okay, we cannot hear you again.
Sandri.
You have to unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I agree with Ruo that while we as Chaos Non Musica already did this because that basically how we works. But yeah, we agree. Alkisah project give us more opportunity to, meet a lot of new friends, new records. A lot of people recognize us more, and before we just do what we think we just want to do, but because of this project, we know exactly, like in practice, that it can happen. It can happen, like really happen. With suddenly now, not suddenly. I mean, Morgan. I mean, Morgan was there, yeah. Morgan, you were there.
What, in Bali?
Nusantara.
Yes. Yeah, me and Ariel.
But
So
we
good.
never really thought. We didn't talk at the time, but we never really think about that it's going to be like this right now. I know, like I met Ruo. We know each other better. Before it's just the name, but now, yeah, like everything is possible for us to do things, together, and like basically we can do it. Basically, we can do it just as long as we believe that we're the same in the same mindset, and we can do this together. And I just want to, if it's still possible, do we still have time? I want to share a little bit about what we. I mean, if Mariana was, you asked about after this, what's the potentiality? This is just like a small example.
Okay.
If you don't mind, is it okay if we play the video?
Yeah. Which one?
About so last November, Senyawa came to Bali. Of course, we don't have money to invite them, but anyway, they asked us while they have a few days in Bali for us to organize few gigs, and I just want to share what Chaos Non Musica can do in such a short time. I don't know if Mas Ruli or Wukir or there. I don't know.
No.
But is it okay if we
Kira.
share the video?
The one with
Which one?
from the Senyawa tour.
The one, yeah.
Senyawa tour in November 2021. Do we have this video?
Yeah.
No, not this one.
That's
Yes.
Alkisah. But it's okay if you want to see it. It's okay if you guys
What's
want to
the
watch
other
it.
one?
I'm happy if you guys want to watch it.
Everyone wakes up, they're like, yes.
But if you don't mind, can we share?
I think we have some technical problems. The
Okay.
video from the Senyawa tour in November.
Yeah, it was like 3 days in a row.
Is it on here?
No,
There's no. Oh, wait.
no, it's not here.
It's not.
We cannot play it.
Can you
The name of the
tell
file?
us
Okay,
the
then.
name of the file? Sandria, can you tell
The
us
name of the file, Senyawa Bali Tour.
Senyawa
November
Bali tour.
something. Well, it's okay. You guys can. No, that's Nusantara. But anyway, nggak apa-apa. Actually, that's Nusantara. But it's okay.
Okay. Too many videos. Sorry for that.
But if you guys want,
Yeah, this one.
oh yeah, this one. So it's three different things, yeah. Okay. So anyway, what you guys just saw, it was actually 3 days in a row. we, you know,
Good.
we asked Senyawa to just let's do this, let's do that, you know. So the first, that was 3 gigs, 3 gigs, 3 gigs in different kind of setting. The first one, we were actually more focused on, so we record the audio space of the venue, and Senyawa let us to do that. There is actually a chicken fights arena, which is a very sacred in Bali, but because of the pandemic, it's closed. But then we have friends, Kiosnon Musika friends, who has the access for us to do that. So we asked Senyawa to play there. Yeah, a lot of people think, how can you do that in that kind of space? Because that's quite a weird space for you to have a gigs. But actually, we just focus on recording things with everything around. And then the second day, it was namanya acoustic version of Senyawa. And then the third day, it was like a more proper version of like the real gigs of how Senyawa will perform. But maybe we want, perhaps we cannot do that without Alkisah project. But after what we did, Senyawa just, Mas Ruli and Ukir let us to do that, to do crazy things as what Kiosnon Musika want to do. So it's interesting. I just want to add that.
Yeah.
I hope. Because before we cannot imagine we ask Senyawa to do that. And it's the different place, Bali is not that small. We asked them to just move to one place to other places. So that's another interesting experience that we have with Senyawa after Alkisah.
Yeah, I think this is this future that is happening now. All those connections that are working now, all those new bonds that are there. Senyawa is currently touring Europe, and some of their concerts were also organized by the members of Alkisah Network. So the network is really working. And all those concerts are possible because of this project. So even if this network looks like it's not longer there, and then the labels move to another projects, I think some of the members of the network are still very active, working and organizing things all the time. And I think now is the time to open our discussion to some questions from the audience here in Berlin, but also for the audience that is online, watching us on YouTube. Ollie?
So we've got a couple questions from people online. Though first I just want to say thank you so much. It's been really exciting to hear about, or it's just so it stimulates a lot of different ideas around how we can be making, sharing, distributing, and listening to music today. So we've got two small questions from online. The first asks if the presentation of the experiment notes in the video that you played at the start is publicly accessible anywhere. And then the second one is, what's the most esoteric format or packaging that Alkisah was released on?
I can answer the first question. It's as you could see, it's like we are all using the same presentation that Ruli made a year ago, and he shared it with us, and now we are just updating this presentation and remixing it and adding some new layers to it. I am not sure that it's publicly available. I think it's
Probably make it.
available within our network, so we are all using it. But I think we can also share this presentation. So it's already in few different versions. Release was like the fullest one, the one that was on the trailer, and the one that we used today was a little bit shorter. But yeah, we are sharing this, and we are working on this one presentation for over the year already. And the second question about the packaging and about the release.
The most, well, just from my knowledge, I mean, shout out Chaos Non Musica, I mean, perfume. Senyawa perfume is pretty awesome, and the origami is dope. But there are a bunch. Knives, the knife. Yeah, a lot of people like the Drowned by Locals, I think, did like a knife, like this beautiful silver knife. It was someone that they had met like down the street from their space, and they just really loved watching them like work, and so hey, so they had this like special edition knife. I think I saw like a makeup bag that was created. There was a doomsday Kiamat doll that had like hexes and curses or like keep evil away things all over it, which is pretty cool. Yeah, those. If I pitch ours, our soy division one, we used kukurma, mixed it in with the ink, and worked with a really great guy here to make the yellow tinge of the print for the sleeve. That's where it got its yellow. Kukurma turmeric. It's a very popular, well expanded spice all over Southeast Asia and the world. Those are the ones that I can think of. Yep.
Yeah, I love how varied all of those approaches were. I don't know if Rotan or Sandria had anything to add on that note.
Yeah, what do you know? Oh,
you're muted again, Sandria.
On the packaging. sorry. I'm not get used to Vmix. Sorry, gang. Okay, for the packaging, maybe guys, can you play the video for the design production? Alkisah design production. Or should I do it now? But I think the video.
Can we have a video?
Is it okay?
Thanks for the video.
That's
Very great.
our packaging. That's our packaging. Oh.
Okay.
Great, thank
Can
you.
you guys hear me?
Sorry, were you gonna?
Yeah.
Please continue.
You guys.
Okay, Rotan, you
Wait.
Oh, now I'm.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
All right. I think we have time for one or two more questions from the room, if anybody has any.
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you guys.
No, we are waiting for the questions
I
now. If
I
there
can
are.
hear you.
Right. If there aren't any questions, I do have one myself. If we could kind of return to the conversation had around power, and at the end of the film you showed at the beginning, it ends with a question that I think is kind of quite compelling, which is that question of what is power when the end is nigh. And I wonder if you could speak to that, and if you're, I guess Reza isn't here, but how you think of this question. I'm not really sure if this kind of end that's referenced is thinking about like the state of the music industry, or like a broader kind of political turmoil, or with the kind of ever-present climate crisis. So yeah, how do you conceive of the question as what is power when the end is nigh?
Is there someone who wants to start?
I wonder if I can call on you first, Marianna, since, oh, sorry, Rotan, please.
Just to confirm the question, what is life?
What is power when the end is nigh, which is how that first trailer ended. It's the question the trailer ended on.
Okay. Don't know. It's a really big question. Maybe Morgan? Can I say something? I don't know.
Pitch it to Morgan. Power is kind of funny. I kind of want to be like a lol. Power lol. But I don't know. Hopefully power is maybe like a ball you can kick around. You know, it's like, oh, I've got the power. No, you've got the power. No, I've got the power. No, you take it. No, I mean, power gets centralized, right? Or it can be. And yeah, it can dictate, control, colonize. You know, also I have to say I'm speaking in English too. Maybe there's other conceptions of this in other languages. But, you know, power is, you know, I think something that also, you know, what is our responsibility, right, when power comes into us, or if power is diffused through a network. To diffuse it through a network or through a group, and to kind of pass the power along and to share it, that's also, I think, a kind of power, right? To be able to share that access. I have friends that I talk with who are in these different institutions, these powerful institutions which give money and decide whether people get visas or not, right? You know, and a lot of their work, if they're in there, they're like, oh yeah, I'm just kind of trying to hold open the door. You know, I'm trying to hold open the door so other people can enter. I would like to think that power isn't the concentration or the hoarding of things, but is actually more of like a sharing, and like, it's okay, like, share it, like, when and where you can. Yeah. But yeah, I would hope power can also be something that's a dialogue, or like a dance. I bet you take a little bit and you share a little bit, and then it's more like this, rather than like mine, if that makes sense. Yeah. That's my attempt.
Thank you, Morgan. I think we might have time for one more, if anyone in the room has one now. Oh, yeah, one here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, hey, thank you so much. It's really fascinating to hear all the different takeaways from such a project, and I think it became really clear and tangible, like the many layers of learning and value that's being created through such a project. But maybe I just want to come to one point you haven't really said much about yet, which would be the obvious one that usually would be asked in the music industry field, let's say, because, I mean, you said also it's also an attempt to find other models within this, what we call an industry, and the distribution of music, which also is, of course, the attempt to have a sustainable, let's say, business with music, so you can sustain your work or your network. And so the question maybe, can you elaborate a bit like how that played out for so many labels releasing, let's say, different works, of course, but they're all interconnected and kind of put under the same umbrella? Did that somehow work out for the labels as well as something that could be repeated, or wasn't it just not an important factor now because all the other takeaways are so much more valuable and so much more important? And as you also mentioned, I think through the examples, there is a whole whole other kind of economy building around it through events, through meetings and so forth.
I shy away from the word economy because then you start applying business, and money exchange. I kind of want to be like, there's more of like an ecology, like around, hey, I need a place to stay, I'm going to be in town, like, with gigging and so a lot of these other exchanges that are like happening, because I mean, I think sustainability, is the business sustainable? Is a co-optation. And it's like, why is the business sustainable? So you can pay your rent, maybe, so you can feed yourself. I'm trying to think carefully through this answer. Let me hold and meditate on it a little bit. Maybe our Rotan or Sandri have something.
Maybe you want to add something.
I think not only for this Alkisah project, but for all the releases from an independent label, we can see the label manager or the boss of the label. When we find a project, we will see. We have the first thing is to see if we like the music, it's about the art. But of course, we will consider also the financially if we can do this, if we can do that. We have a more or less a kind of a evaluation of what we can do, how much money we can. But in the worst case, how much money we can lose in this project, or if it goes well, how much money we can earn from this release and we can put for the future release. So in this practical level, I think all my friends who is running an independent label, they know this well. Whenever you release a tape or a vinyl or CD or some merch, you have to manage your expectation. And if you do a vinyl, it's a big project. It's a big budget, and you need to know how to distribute later, and or if it doesn't go well, how much money you can hold on this, and you have like many 100 or 200 copies left there for years. Can you handle that? I think all of us, we already have thought of these questions before we participate Alkisah project or we make other release. And but the first thing is also it's always the passion of the music, and if you don't have that, you cannot. If we consider that 100% as a business, you will evaluate like, okay, this can earn money, this cannot, what I should release. But I think it's not. First, you like the music, you want to do this, and of course, you have the financial side. Financial side, you need to consider this. So for me, it's not a very difficult problem, because if you really think it's a left field music and maybe you can only sell 20 copies, so you can just do a tape or in a small quantity, and you can also still sell that with friends and have the digital version online. So it's not a really problem for me. The problem is sometimes you have a new project going on, and if you want to release on vinyl, or in this case, practically, normally we can do that with other label, a collaboration between labels, like to press more vinyl, make it possible. And in Senyawa's case, because they have I think all the vinyls are pressed at the same place, so we also save a little bit the fees of the cut. So we have the same vinyl, and we just every label just do the different cover, the printing of the cover. So Senyawa has already think of the sort of all these questions, how it can proceed. So I don't. It's a quite good experience for me, and that's maybe it's because it's normal for me to think all of this, the budget and now the paper price. But when you manage your own label of an independent, when you do whatever it's tape or it's vinyl, you have all these factors in mind, and that's what I think for now. So it's not really a big problem, because you have your thinking before you decided to release it or not. Yeah.
Sandria, do you want to add something to? You have to unmute yourself. Sorry.
Sandria.
We
cannot hear you.
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Okay, sorry. So, few minutes ago, I cannot hear it. I think I have problem with the audio, so I cannot hear what's the question and what's going on for the last few minutes. I'm so sorry.
Okay. No,
can you guess?
To repeat the question,
or we ran out of time.
Okay.
I didn't.
Can you hear us now?
I didn't know what's the. Yeah. It's fine now. But before, I cannot hear you guys.
Yeah, to paraphrase, I guess the question was around the economic viability of the Alkisah model, and if that kind of worked out for labels. Was that a fair paraphrasing of your question?
Yeah, more or less. I mean, it was just a question, like if you put so many labels together and everyone makes X number of copies, then maybe the overall amount of copies of Senyawa music in the remixes becomes quite larger than usual for a Senyawa release. And so I was just wondering if there was a bit of a maybe this amplified also the outreach, and that was also one of the results, or maybe it was a risk, because who knows if so many people would at the end then finally find their ways to those releases, and then some of the labels were maybe left with losses that they didn't expect. Or, that was just this question, but Roitan mostly answered it, I think. And it was the question if such models could help to be more sustainable also economically for small labels or entrepreneurs, in the field, who of course do labor of love, but nevertheless need to sustain the work so they can keep going.
I hope I get the question right, but perhaps I can just give like a small example of what Chaos Non Musica did, since we invite some other friends other indie label, other artists outside Chaos Non Musica itself. Perhaps one of the things that now it's, we have this sense of belonging that we can do this together, we can support each other,
Yeah.
and if they need, how to say it, like, us as a collective, of course, we have we're not always good at everything, but when you work as a collective and do together with other people, you can just, everyone can do this thing together and help each other, what you have, what you doesn't have. And I think that's one of the good things because before everyone think if it's just Chaos Non Musica label, records label, or for example, we have this 5 other records label to be part of Alkisah Senyawa in Bali. Before, perhaps they just do it just in between them, but now they know, for this part, we can share it with, with other friends, with other label. So I think that's one of the good thing about this decentralization thing, because now everyone, it's not just a theory. This is basically, we already do this in practice. And it's not at what people think. I think that's one of the important things about what Senyawa did, because not many big name will do that, I mean, in underground punk scene, for example, we already do this for decades, but not many big name, Senyawa, for example, do this. And a lot of people recognize this method. And even when we did it, a lot of people ask, are you sure? Why don't you take it just for Chaos Non Musica? Why should you share it with everyone? So I think that's one of the good things, because now we can connect more, that we can do this together, the solidarity, and support each other, I think that's one of the important things that we can have from this project. Is that answer your question or not? I'm so sorry.
No, it's good. I had another comment to add, to layer on. I think another layer of it is that, Senyawa being as great as they are, also being able to release here, there's this layer of, it is like Indonesian, and I think this also kind of reactivated a lot of Indonesian pride, and like pride in our Indonesian-ness, however distributed or decentralized that is. But then this Indonesian-ness also like fused with like metalness and experimentalness. And I think a lot of these, maybe some of these latencies were really, really reactivated through participating in the project. So I think a little bit what Sandria was saying is also working together and sharing, like that's the part that was guiding a lot of our like kind of financial businessy decision. And I don't even know if it was that. I mean, I saw it, I had some savings and I thought like, I'm probably going to lose money, but this is great. This is going to be awesome. But please buy the record because I don't have much money.
So I think Morgan will be around afterwards with a few vinyls. I think that's all we've got time for today. But Morgan, Rotan, Sandria, and Marianna, thank you all so much. If you want to hear more about Alkisah, there's a bunch of information and media on our features page that you can find on our website, and we'll also be publishing a magazine article by Marianna and another network participant, Luigi Montiani, soon. And Senyawa will be playing the closing concert at Heimathafen tomorrow, so please come along to that. And then in the meantime, please stick around for Jeffrey Mack's lecture performance.
Sunday, right? Sunday,
yes, that is what I meant. Thank you.
Yes.
So please stick around for Jeffrey, and thank you, all of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sandri. Sandri, Oton. Woo, big ups.